Next on stage, by the way, more insights from a gentleman who's been responsible for really putting together what we perceive and what we know as really the currency and what Bitcoin means to the world. He's a dear friend of mine. I'm just checking to make sure he's got his headset on. It's in place. Fantastic. So next on stage is a gentleman who's a founder of the Bitcoin Center. Now, you might not know much about the Bitcoin Center, but you should do, because there's the very first Bitcoin exchange, and it opened in 2013, which in this industry is about 1 billion years ago. But he's joining us on stage. We're very lucky to have him here, talking about the shifting sands of cryptoeconomies, then and now. Please put your hands together for Mr. Nick Spanos.
Thank you, everybody. I don't have a button. Get me a button. But I'd like to show my appreciation for Dr. Marwan, who's the George Washington of crypto over here. Called me many years ago. Is there a button? What do you got? Thank you, thank you. So usually I like to help inspire. I don't want to call it inspire, but I want to help explain to many people that how forceful and how forward motion you have to be able to compete in this industry. If you had known what we had to go through in the beginning, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it at all. As a matter of fact, yeah, my unique identifier in Telegram is Bitcoin for sale with underscores. I hit the next button. Whoa. Uh-oh. You sure? How's this work, guys? No, that's backwards. Anyway, so yeah, I came from the political side. I was in charge of political data in the United States. Not in charge, but my companies. I had political data companies. I had early Airbnb in 1995. I opened getaroom.com, which was an early Airbnb before the smartphone. And then I opened Livery Cab, which was before anyone had a smartphone, and that was like an Uber competitor before Uber. So I'm pretty early, and what happens in business is maybe you're too early and you missed the boat because you're too early and you spent all your money early and then you don't make any money. So what I did with the Bitcoin Center is like I have to go down to Wall Street and open my own exchange. And I built 100 feet from the New York stock market in 2013. It's about 6,000 square feet on the ground floor. This is a Thai building. And I tell you this not to impress you, but to impress upon you how important this technology is. I understood the technology very quickly because I was a computer person since 1978. I built a Heathkit computer with a soldering iron. You couldn't really buy a computer. So I've been in computers for a long time, and I realized digital scarcity is everything because it gives a three-dimensional rule set to electricity, and electricity running through integrated circuitry. And most of our lives run through these integrated these chips, but they never had three-dimensional rule set like the world we have here. And I understood that even earlier with domain names. I bought 12,000 domain names in the early 90s. And yeah, there's a movie, Banking on Bitcoin. Netflix followed me around for a couple of years back then. It's pretty funny, I believe. And it's also very educational to people. I opened the Bitcoin Center in Miami years ago, and we brought everyone in. We had a building. At one point, I had 30% of all the blockchain inventions. So traditional finance, is at risk. And many people in the States run traditional finance. They own the legacy financial system. So the regulators are very advanced in trying to figure out a way how to slow us down and stop us. They created the BIT license, which was it was only a banking license, and they crossed the top out and they wrote virtual currency license. And it pretty much scared everybody, and they killed the whole ecosystem. There were dozens and dozens of companies that we fostered at the Bitcoin Center. You know, we had a packs full. MakerDAO was made in my apartment. And the regulators were not clear, and they chased everyone away, and they came out with this one thing that was so intrusive that everyone had to leave the state. So this is the first time, as an American, I feel sad that it's the first time that that technology isn't going to come from the United States to the world. I think, as a matter of fact, I believe this is the new Switzerland for the Middle East. I think Dubai's doing it right. So these are different reasons why you should get out of traditional finance. I don't know how to use this damn thing. Too many buttons, guys. You sure that's the next one? Well, I always say that the world is a bountiful place. Before centralization, I think we worked less and had more family time, more ability to share with our loved ones. And I think through monetary policy, all of a sudden, we have less time to ourselves. We have to work more, house ourselves, feed our families. I remember when I was younger, I'm pretty old right now, that one person worked and, everybody had a very easier life. And now I see that people work multiple jobs. Everyone works and they're multiple jobs. And even then, they can't make ends meet. So I don't think that the earth lost 90% of the food or anything, I believe it has something else to do with it. All right, something's got to happen here. What the fuck, dude? All right, so stigmergy is self-organization. It looks like there's central control, but so when you see the birds flying like this, they're reacting to their environment. When you see ants walking around and building things, they don't have a centralized control, but it looks centralized, but it is the result of its environment imposing certain rules on it, and they take the best path. Like DeFi, everyone's moving to different places in the DeFi ecosystem automatically, and the one that wins is the better one, usually, So I think it's a very big development. Next. I got this slide here about decentralization compared to centralization. And I believe that everyone's moving more towards a platform that's provable. I use the word decentralization, but all that means is there's so much provability in the network that there isn't one player or one place where it can be fouled. It has to be the control of everything. Next. So I believe that the global south is the next big market, and Bitcoin started out trading in a park in Union Square at 6 o'clock in New York City, 6 o'clock Monday night. We would trade in the north side of Union Square. This is back more than 10 years ago. And we would trade with each other, and it was peer-to-peer. And the beauty of Bitcoin is you can have peer-to-peer transactions. So when I opened the exchange, I thought to myself, well, I don't have a license to open an exchange, so I'm just going to open it and not charge anybody. So being that I didn't charge anybody a commission, it was legal for me to open it, and they tried to figure out a way, but I wasn't doing anything illegal. What it was a meeting place where people traded with each other, and I never charged anybody. As a matter of fact, I paid for the food and the drinks and everything because I'm an activist. I wasn't a Wall Street guy, but we also peeled all the Wall Street traders that were getting fired, and we brought them in and had them trade. And I'm just saying this because I believe that this technology can save the world. I believe it because in the past there have been places where people manipulated back smoke-filled rooms the price of milk, and that's what I've always said. So the Dunbar's number is we're supposed to know, or we get to know about 150 people, and but now we're connected to practically everyone on the planet if we wanted to. So go to the next slide. So social-fi, I believe, is going to be a big thing because no one's really quantified. I think it's the next big thing because no one's really quantified the attention, where attention is everything. In the past, we've used currency to store our work, but and now I believe that attention is everything. You pay advertising agencies, you pay all these people to get attention to your product, and being that we're all connected on the whole planet, there's this new finance which is in its infancy. It's, I think there's only a couple sites out there. I'm not going to promote any sites, but there's a couple sites out there that are taking advantage, and people are joining, and you get to interact with people that follow you, and they get rewarded by being privy to secret conversations or meetings online, and there's many different ways that social-fi is growing right now. So I really believe that everyone should take a deep look at social-fi and do your homework, of course. Don't listen to me that much. Do your homework. Next. Well, yeah, I say this, that storing your work, because that's what money is, in the Federal Reserve debt note is an abusive relationship. Because they printed 30 trillion extra ones. Next. Sorry about that. And next. So there are 125 countries that are moving towards a centralized CBDC, central bank digital currency, and that's fine. And I believe that the wholesale CBDC is great, where countries can deal with each other and transfer value to and from each other. Banks can deal with that. And plus, I believe that the retail CBDC, central bank digital currency, I'm not sure if it's going to work that simply because people have ideas that they could be followed or their transactions are going to be throttled. I know in Nigeria, they came out with the e-Naira a few months ago during the election, and the electronic Naira, and what they did was they throttled the ATM machines for regular Naira to come out, the paper money, and they said, you can only get $20 worth of Naira every few days. So what happened was Bitcoin doubled in Nigeria when that happened. So what that indicated to me is that the cash that's going to happen is probably going to be Bitcoin. As these countries adopt a retail central bank digital currency. See, there's a distinction. You have the wholesale central bank digital currency, and then you have the retail central banks and digital currency, which I think people are going to move slower towards adoption. And of course, Bitcoin is the financial voice for those who don't have one. It's bringing abundance to Africa and South America, and I'm helping that out. I'm trying to help it out. I'm very happy that I'm a part of it. I think everyone should be empowered to move forward and create their own change in their own lives by being bold, and don't listen to people who don't understand what it is. Everyone's going to say, oh, you don't know what they told me when I started back in 2011, 2012. They thought I lost my mind. I had a thriving tech company, I had thriving real estate companies, and then I went I went Bitcoin, and everyone thought I lost my mind because they didn't know what it was. I said, listen, I know what it is. I'm always early. You have to listen to me. If you don't listen to me, you're going to be complaining later. And yes, they say, why didn't you push me? Why didn't you? I go, yo, I told you. Next. So yeah, they tried to ignore us in the past. So Venmo and PayPal now has a digital dollar. You know, the reality is, it's the only way not to have 100 accountants look back as historians to try to figure out what happened. That's what blockchain is. Next. DeFi is changing the world. Next. And I tell this story because I want to try to give you what I have or what I had to empower you to start your own businesses or stay tough and strong in your own business. And my mother, God rest her soul, she passed away a couple of years. I was getting beat up in the school that we moved out to by 10 people, 20 people, and I came all beat up every day. And my mother complained to the principal. She said, why does my son have black eye, broken nose? And the principal said, oh, they're just playing on the playground. And then one day, I beat up the bully, and then I'm sitting in the principal's office, and he called my mother. My mother came to the school, and he said to my mother that they're going to send me to the school with the short bus because I beat one guy up. 10 people would beat me up every day, but when I beat one guy up, so my mother said, if I tell my brother, you're not going to see it tomorrow. And I was like, holy cow, my mother threatened the principal. I couldn't believe it. And as we were walking out, there's a word, thados, courage, fortitude, self-actualization, bravery, grit. It's your forward motion through the world. I'm Greek American. And as we were walking out, my mother said, don't let anyone take your thados. Don't let anyone take your thados. So with those words, I've been moving through life. And this is from my dad. I got to tell my dad. So my father would say a lot of things, ancient Greek. Thirio den ginese, an thirio den tros. A beast you'll never become unless you eat beasts. You'll never become a beast. So many of these companies, that legacy financial companies, are beasts. And each and every one of you have the opportunity to eat those beasts. So in the words of my father, a beast you'll never become until you eat beasts. I think my time's up. That's my info. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Nick Spanos and I go way back. We're just chatting about our gigs in Malta and all the rest of it. You've got to connect to this guy if you're not already in working with him. He knows more about the industry than most people could ever know. So he's a genius as well.